Look at this.
Yeah, so this is a big collected potentilla. And this is from Ray's again. But you can, really cool. And then it just kind of juts back on like a 45 or 90-degree angle.
Yeah.
Wow. Big, very vigorous, very strong.
Yeah.
So very well recovered from its collection. So ready to start working and put it on. So I'm going to think, because I really get an alpine vibe from this tree.
Yeah.
Especially just the cut. That's how potentillas kind of grow, and this dramatic movement and stuff. So I'm going to put it on a rock, I think, and I'll show you guys the rock over there.
And they're native, Ray was telling us. Which I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so the native variety always has the yellow flowers, but you can get them from nurseries as well that have a variety of different kind of flowers.
Wow.
But you can see it's just, it's been flowering all summer for me.
Yeah, you can see all the dead flowers. It's amazing.
Yeah. So
all summer, it just keeps flowering. That's nice.
Yeah, it's very vigorous, so I haven't pruned it or anything like that again.
Pretty cool bonsai to have, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited for this too. So the benches are packed back and front, so we'll just walk down the back side and I'll speak to some of them around here.
Okay.
This is another collected cedar, one of my first ones. And it's going to be, yeah, you guys got the front there.
Wow, that is cool.
So it's going to be this weird kind of cascade, and it has this unique back branch.
Is that one I had at my place for a little while? Or?
Yeah, it was collected by that gentleman who didn't hang around the club a lot.
Yeah, I remember that.
Kind of collected it and then moved out west, I think, or something.
Yeah, that has really come a long way. That looks really good.
And it's kind of got this weird sinuous branch that is still flexible, so I'm just going to put that kind of somewhere for fun.
Yeah.
And
nice. Good to see stuff again. Still alive and doing well.
This is a bunch of weeds, and then a dwarf holly, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Japanese holly.
Pagoda.
Yeah, but it's kind of a unique.
That is cool.
Structure to it.
Yeah, that is. And will that get berries too?
Yeah, it's an evergreen. It's an evergreen holly, and I think it dried out, so I missed the flowers. I got a couple of flowers.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I do expect berries.
So they would stay on all winter, would they?
Yeah, I'm not sure on this one actually, but I would think so. A lot of hollies do that.
Yeah, normal holly wouldn't they? Very cool.
In front of it is another Japanese black pine.
Okay.
So this is grown from seedling. And I just did a big chop here, kind of late in the season, and I did that on purpose. So I treated it kind of like your Scots pine, where I didn't candle prune.
Yeah.
So you can see here, this is all one new candle.
Wow. Vigorous, eh?
Yeah. So before, like, it had like 6 or 8 inch candles on it.
Wow.
So I let this was as a sacrifice branch, completely let it grow. And then I made the chop here, and you can see the new buds starting to open.
Yeah.
So those may or may not open by the end of the season, but they'll definitely set buds.
Yeah.
And I kind of did the same thing with this branch too. I cut back big branches. So again, same one cut, first branch, second cut, 2 branches.
Yeah.
Very like kind of rudimentary bonsai style.
Nice way to develop them, isn't it?
Beside it is a collected jack pine.
Okay. Wow. They have nice needles, don't they?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's a 2 needle. It's kind of like, I've been asking local people around, but we don't really have a native black pine.
Right.
So we have like our red pine, our Pinus resinosa. We have our white pine, our Pinus strobus.
Yeah.
But I think this jack pine is kind of like our closest analogous black pine to the Japanese black pine.
Closest thing.
2 needles, kind of tight. As you can see, this is its wild needles from a couple of years ago collected, and this year, so it's growing very strong.
Very cool.
Beside it is another dwarf alberta spruce.
Yeah.
So these 2 trees are actually the lead trees for my mixed forest, which that may be the last thing we look at, because it's over there.
Wow.
But yeah, so this is kind of be like the lead larch tree.
Yeah.
And this will be the lead spruce tree.
Well, they get nice bark on them, aren't they?
Yeah. And it's kind of I'm doing the cathedral type.
Oh yeah.
It just did it naturally, really. Like I picked the site I wanted.
Yeah.
And these kind of all grew back up.
Very cool.
It's growing that pretty nicely.
It's looking very mature, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's going to go right next to the lead larch tree. So this is the front of it here.
Yeah.
And there's a really nice base on it.
Oh yeah.
It's starting to flake out and stuff.
Very good.
But I was telling Nigel earlier, basically I haven't got to this tree all season. So you can see, like, just look at this is one shoot.
Yeah, just incredible.
So
it just keeps growing.
Yeah. and luckily, look, like I haven't lost any of my inner foliage.
No.
And so you can actually see, like, that's kind of like where it first puffed out, and then you can kind of see the hidden silhouette in it.
Back to that.
Yeah. So that's exactly.
Will you do that in fall?
Late fall. Yeah. Oh no, not late fall. Early fall.
Early fall.
So late August, about.
Yeah.
Basically, I've kind of found my rhythm, I guess. I was just talking about how I was doing stuff basically month to month throughout the summer or the whole growing season. So I'll start obviously with repotting, and then I'll put air layers on after I'm done repotting. And then once the deciduous trees put out their first flush of foliage, I'll do my first round of pruning. And then I'll be pruning kind of the deciduous trees all early to midsummer. So finish around mid-July. I think I just did my last one a little while ago, and we'll talk about it, but I don't think it's going to be, I think I maybe went too far, too many rounds of flushes of growth. And then we're probably midsummer, so around this time I'll start working on my tropicals, so then I can do repots, trims, basically anything you want on tropicals now, because it's stinking hot and stinking humid. And they love it. So it's a great time to prune your succulents, all of your sun-loving trees, because now it's getting the most sun that it will all year. So if you're pruning for a show or anything like that, you want to prune when you get the most sun, so you get the smallest leaf, especially on a jade or tropical. And then once that's done, kind of like end of or the summer solstice, early fall, late summer, like late August or about a month, I'll start trimming my conifers, and then that will set. So I'm not going to get any. That's a kind of delicate point, because you want it late enough in the season where you don't force another flush. But early enough so it has enough time to set the buds. So that's basically your goal, is to set next year's growth. So this works on all kinds of conifers, pines, larches, spruces, hemlocks,
you kind
cedars.
of get the maximum vigor over the summer, don't you? And
exactly.
Then there's a point where you got to prune them.
Yeah. So it's like a hard prune in the fall, and then a pinch in the spring. And then other than that, like, that's normally what I'll do on a conifer.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And then after that, you're almost into the winter. You're transitioning your trees inside, and then tropicals over the winter, and then back to spring.
And I always tell people there's an ideal time to do everything, but there's also, you can't do everything
exactly
at the ideal time. So sometimes you got to adjust your schedule to how much you can do, because we're not a professional nursery or anything. We're just, basically hobbyists. And,
you can only get so much in.
You can only do so much, and sometimes you got to repot a little out of season, or prune them not at the ideal time for everything, but you do what you can do.
So next to the larch is this dwarf balsam fir. So it's got, as in still the smooth young bark. It's a relatively young tree. It again, it had a severe root pruning to get from nursery stock into my bonsai soil. So that was last spring I did that. So last year, not a lot of growth. You can see kind of the needles are thin. Small. This year's growth starting to get a little bit bigger, bigger needles. So that's a good sign. So that probably means I can do a prune in the fall in the same kind of schedule I just mentioned.
Well, you have to observe, don't you, to read your trees.
For sure.
You know when they're becoming vigorous and when you can do certain operations.
And it's easy to trick yourself. You can see it's like, oh, this means it's really good, but then you go see like a landscape tree or something in nature, and you'll see like a 10-inch candle or something, especially on this larch. Larches are notorious for that. Like a strong growing larch will put on like long vigorous candles like this. So when you see something like this, you're like, oh, that's a strong growing larch. But if you never let yourself grow this, and you can trick yourself into thinking this is a strong growing larch.
You always got to compare it to a field growing tree, or a tree in the ground or something,
so cool. Swing over here. This is just a nursery stock, but it's a really interesting weeping crabapple variety. So it has really small.
There's the crab apples.
Small fruit on it, and they'll turn. You can see they're just starting to turn color.
So the
side that gets the most sun turns first.
I see.
but it has really small foliage and really delicate small fruit.
Yeah, and weeping and
yeah, so lots of really good characteristics. So I'm gonna, depending where my girlfriend lets me, I'm gonna air layer some of it because it has a lot of really great bonsai potential.
Yeah, you'll develop one branch as a future bonsai. Eh?
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Maybe even up here, I'll try to take the best part of the tree.
Yeah.
But this would be a nice weeping kind of strange kind of cascade.
Yeah.
And it's still kind of bendable, so I may play with it on the tree while it's still there.
Well, if you can't do that, you'll have to take the fruit and grow it from seed. Maybe.
Yeah.
Should be okay with that.
That's interesting. Yeah, maybe I didn't consider from seed.
Because I've heard crab apples are very
unique to type.
Grow from seeds very easily.
Okay.
Like almost 100% of the ones you plant will grow.
Interesting. Well, yeah, maybe I'll have a bunch then.
Yeah. Maybe.
I have a couple whips kind of down here.
Oh yeah.
So I mentioned before, like you'll get young kind of material shipped to you from either Edmonton or Ontario, whatever. So I have kind of 3 whippy larches. The same ones that Nigel just worked on and made his bog forest out of.
The ones that the rabbits worked on.
Yeah. Yeah, so hopefully we'll have to protect. I don't get a lot of rabbits, thankfully.
No.
But I'll protect these in the winter, and then there's some red maples beside it.
Cool.
So these are going to go with that black spruce forest that we showed you earlier. And I don't know what I'm going to do with the red maples. It's nice. I can keep one in the ground and one in bonsai, and we can do like a
comparison.
Split plot or something like that.
Oh, that's cool.
This is another collected cedar.
Okay.
So very overgrown.
Yeah. Looks like a bush or something.
Yeah. So you'll see there is a nice trunk. Oh, eh? Great movement in it.
Oh,
and, it's short. Probably only goes up to about here.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a great show hen.
Wow. So it's gaining vigor to do future operations.
Yeah. So it. When did I?
Smells nice.
I collected it. I collected this late in the season, so this was maybe around this time, like an August collection, which is kind of risky for a lot of trees.
Yeah.
I think some conifers you can collect in the fall. This was a little even earlier, but it was great. I pulled out all the root ball.
Okay.
So I even kind of combed back some of the. So I just spaded it around, and basically it was growing in its ecosystem that it was nice, tight.
Nice.
So that normally means there's a lot of water because the cedars like water. So they'll grow. Normally, if it's in a dry spot, you'll get roots growing really far.
Long roots. Yeah. Searching for moisture.
Yeah. So we're gonna prune this in the next Kitchener meeting, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's a bush now, but I think it does have a lot of really nice movement and some fine branches in there. And I think it's vigorous enough that we could get away with a lot of pruning.
Yeah. Really nice. That's cool. That'll be a nice demo to watch.
Yeah, awesome.
That'll be really cool.
This is the native red pine that we were just talking about, Pinus resinosa.
Yeah.
Eastern red pine. And I'm the only person, I think, someone please let me know if you're growing these for bonsai. I don't think anyone is. I haven't found anyone. I don't know why.
Yeah.
They get kind of a bad rap because you can see like it's untrimmed needles are like 3 inches.
Yeah.
It's a 2-needle pine, stiff needles. But like you can see, great flaky bark.
Fantastic,
this is a young tree, maybe only 12 years old.
Yeah.
And you can see.
Some people might laugh, only 12 years old.
Yeah. Young, everything's relative for a tree.
I know.
But after the year that I root pruned, you can see this year's needles. Look, that's a very small, tiny needle.
Yeah. So
that's like getting into the black pine kind of territory.
Yeah.
So they do have a potential to reduce.
Yes.
And this was a couple of years ago, again, severe root pruning into this bag.
And it took the severe root pruning okay too.
Yeah, so quite well.
That's good to know.
And I've been taking off big pieces, so this is all dead. That's going to be basically dead wood. And this is kind of my sacrifice leader.
Okay.
So I'm going to cut this back, and it's going to kind of come up and then go back down into this cool kind of wavy cascade.
And do you keep it drier than your other pines, or does it like a lot of moisture? Or?
I keep it all kind of on the same pine level.
Okay.
So I try to keep my pines, like you said, drier.
Yeah.
Junipers, pines, they like to be on the dry side. So this big, this isn't a smaller volume than the bigger ones that we started with, but this will also probably only get watered once a week.
Okay.
And you can see this is maybe this is version 1.2 of my soil.
Okay.
So everything's kind of different.
Yeah.
But it's got a lot of these expanded kind of balls.
Yeah.
And bits. Yeah, bits and stuff. This was from a when I was doing my master's at the University of Guelph.
Okay.
Someone else was doing I think some research on green roofs, or like those kind of and living roofs and stuff like that. Exactly. And that substrate it kind of needs the same characteristics as bonsai soil. It needs to be lightweight because it's going on a roof.
Yeah.
It can't hold a lot of water because again it has to be lightweight, and has to be porous to let that water out. So it's like the perfect bonsai soil, actually.
We saw those at Ray's. Remember, he had the living roof where he just strips them off and plants them. Yeah. Which is pretty cool.
So I got some of that, so that'll be worked into the kind of mix.
Wow.
Yeah, and I guess this is kind of it for the backside. So we'll go around and check out the last couple benches. So this is some sort of dwarf Siberian spruce. So I have a Siberian pine, and this is Siberian spruce.
Okay.
And it's kind of got this bluish needle to it.
Yeah.
And I won't be able to move it around, but you can kind of see it's got a big thick trunk, and then I'm growing it cathedral style.
Yeah. So
I didn't make that cut. I don't know what it doesn't even look like it was cut. I think it just naturally
branched out.
Yeah. So there's some sort of hormones, and maybe someone will correct me, but there's basically a hormone that tells a tree when it's going to branch or how many branches it's going to have. Yeah. So this may have just naturally broken into the five, six kind of trunks. Yeah. So I'm going to keep one really tight, and this is a really nice side one. Yeah. Really something. Look at the size of the needles. They're kind of incredible. So again, this was repotted in the spring, and it's kind of the only thing I did to it. So I mentioned particle size. Yeah. So I kind of have a generic particle size for most of my small and medium sized bonsai. So I'll just get a handful of both so you guys can see. Okay. And then I have a bigger particle size. So I'll grow a lot of my conifers or bigger trees in this one. Yeah. Just because they, like I just mentioned, they like to be dry. So that's probably 4 to 5 millimeters or bigger? Or? Yeah. I can get my screens out and we can go through it. But yeah, this is basically, I think, 3 to 5, and this is like 5 to 8, and then I have another 8 plus, which I'll show you. I basically only use that kind of bigger stuff for collected material. Okay. But yeah. Interesting. And did you bare root this one, or was it? Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of, even my conifer, well, it depends. Like when you get nursery stock, a lot of it is either what they call balled and burlapped. Yeah. Which basically means it was just cut out of the field and wrapped in burlap. Right. So if that's the case, you normally don't really have a good root system in there. And again, it's like a clay ball, depending on where you get it. Like I found you get a lot of that in Ontario. Yeah. So if that's the case, then yeah, sometimes I've had to use pickaxes to get that clay out of there. Wow. Or it's in a nursery pot with like a cocoa. It's normally cocoa mix or peat. No, peat. Sorry, it's going to be a peat mix. Which is better, isn't it? Yeah. Clay. Yeah, and then we'll get a nice container. Container grown is better than balled and burlapped. Yes. In my opinion, you'll get a better chance of a finer root base. Yeah. Yeah, so that was root pruned, completely bare rooted, and then put in a big grow box. Right. And it's really vigorous. It did put out a new flush, and now it's starting to set like a lot of buds. So I think I noticed some of the new buds are coming out already too. Yeah. So it's very vigorous. So it gained vigor. So again, once you get them out of that old soil into bonsai soil, once they recover, they take off, don't they? It's worth doing. Wow. So this is kind of, well, my girlfriend wanted her picnic table back, so I'm trying to get rid of some of these trees actually. Yeah. I have a few in mind for you, Nigel, but feel free to say no. I know you're running out of space too. I can't say no. I just yeah. But like these are the cuttings. You've seen them in the other video. I still have more, so let me know if you guys want some. They're doing really well. Yeah. Better than mine. And yeah, so these are same thing. You can see this is kind of wet. Yeah. So I don't move these either, just for lack of trying. I bet you I'm underwatering mine because I keep them very dry. Yeah. So they can take it, like when they're actively growing, I found you don't need to be too concerned about water. Right. It's really in the off season when they're in reduced light and they're inside, then you got to really kind of hold back the water. Yeah. So sort of a dry winter probably. Yeah. And then exactly. And this is not bonsai soil. This is just like a pro mix. Yeah. It is airy, like it's It's kind of what I use just as my generic soil.
Fluffy, isn't it?
Yeah, fluffy and nice, and there's a good fraction of perlite.
Your leaves are very green, whereas mine have a red tinge on them. So.
Yeah, that's normally like a stress from light and stuff, probably not enough water.
So yeah, I think I could water mine more. Interesting. So,
yeah, there's a couple things. A big thick dwarf spruce again with a nice twin trunk.
Wow.
And this is kind of the this is my goal to get. Oh, look, this there's a box here.
Oh yeah,
but it's just this is Nigel. I think you'd really like this. You can have it if you'd like. It's a coral berry.
Okay.
And it's just about to flower, and I'll show you some other ones that are just about to flower, and then it puts out a really nice white and a pinky kind of berry on it.
Okay, cool. And this spruce that looks very like a forest spruce.
Yeah, very tight, kind of conical.
Old growth spruce or something like that.
And this is what I'm trying to get with my other spruce up there.
Yeah.
But basically, I can just make a comment quick on these spruce and keeping the foliage tight. Is basically you have to prune this quite rigorously. So a prune in fall and a pinch in spring.
Yeah.
At least at a minimum. And you can see that's going to push buds back.
I've heard these back bud really well. The blue spruce, Colorado blue spruce.
Well, this is a great candidate for that because it really has. So like, you see here, like, so this was the fresh candle. So this is this year's growth that I pinched in half.
Yeah.
So you can see right where I pinched it, either a bud emerged or maybe I pinched to that because it's safer to pinch to a bud.
Right. Yes.
But then these tertiary buds also pushed.
They popped.
And then these ones I didn't prune and they're budding. And then like look, you can see, like even in the crotch of the branch, like I'm gonna rub that off because I don't want them there.
They sprout even on the trunk, don't they sometimes?
But these spruce, they're very bendy, and they take a while to set branches. So I've already wired this once or twice, and they're starting to lift back.
Spring up again, eh?
Yeah, but that's my goal for this. This is a great tree, really set up for the future.
Yeah.
It's relatively young, but
you can see it has a good root base and a nice bark and a nice trunk, and yeah, it's got good style to it, doesn't it? It's just, very nice, Connor.
Yeah, so it's once it's there, you got to really maintain and you got to work a lot of trimming to kind of keep it. I don't know. This is maybe a pin cherry or stuff, but even this like kind of young tree, you can see that gets a nice fat root base from the colander growing.
Oh yeah.
That's why I really like these baskets.
Yeah. Wow. And this is a fusion project here.
Yeah. So those are silver maples.
Okay.
And they're just collected from my gutter.
Okay.
So a lot of them, I had like 100% germination rate, so I made several of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like, I think Bjorn made a video of how to do that, a 2-part video on Japanese maples.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd try it with a native tree. And I like the silver maple. I'm kind of exploring with it. Like a lot of people say the red maple is probably our best native maple.
Yeah.
But I really like the silver maple because it has the really unique leaf type with the big veins in it. Ray told me what it was before.
Nasal cavity.
Nasal cavity or something like that.
Was it nasal cavity?
No, I don't think it was nasal.
No, it was something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, like this really like, I think of like when you think of a maple leaf, that's kind of what you think about.
Basal cavity?
Yeah. I'm going to Google it, or maybe your viewers will tell us.
Yeah, they'll tell us. Yeah, they're deeply cut, aren't they? Especially on some of them.
Yeah. And here's the whipcord cedar.
Yeah.
Which, Nigel, I'm going to gift this to you if you'll take it.
Oh my goodness.
I know you've spoken about it a lot, so I think you'll really like it.
Yeah. They're on sale right now.
It's really kind of weird phenotype, and I was just kind of playing around with it. I did an umbrella or like a profile prune.
Yeah.
And you can see like where I cut it back. It does bifurcate, so you can see here I cut, and then now there's 2 cut here. Now there's 4 or whatever.
Interesting.
So it kind of produces buds out of these nodes right here.
You could probably almost grow it to look like a sequoia or something.
Yeah, it does have a very sequoia-like.
It has that kind of foliage, doesn't it? Yeah.
100% for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. Wow.
You guys can see some of my rocks back here.
That's what I have to do, is create a table of giveaway stuff. Whenever people come over,
please help.
They can choose from the table.
Yeah. So I know Isabella wants some of these jades, so I'm going to send them along with Nigel.
Sounds good.
But they all came from the project over there.
The big forest over there, yeah.
But let's sneak around back here. I can show you guys some of my rocks.
Okay.
I have some of this Japanese bloodgrass.
Oh yeah.
Which kind of, it was just here when we got it. So this makes a really nice accent plant. So I'm going to try to keep some of that.
Dig that up and look at these rocks. They are wild.
Yeah. So this this style again is the tufa rock.
Yeah. And they're fairly light too, are they?
Yeah. When you get up to this kind of size, you're still kind of heavy, but you could pick this up. Like this is a nice slab.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's lighter compared to like something that'd be like granite.
Like granite or something like that, eh?
And I don't know. I guess there's some like natural color variation. This one's you can see a little pinkier.
Yeah. Almost like a granite color, isn't it?
Yeah. But this one, this is a great find. I'm really excited to do this because this kind of screams classic like root over rock because it's already in that triangle shape. Yeah. So it like a lot when you do this is like you kind of replace the trunk with the rock.
I see.
And then I'm gonna grow, like it's very popular in Japan. I'm gonna grow like shimpaku, basically branches.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take air layers of shimpaku, train them, and then stick them onto the kind of rock.
Cool.
And
this one, did it have natural cavities like that?
Yeah, exactly.
That is wild.
So I'm pretty sure these are mined. I'm not sure how they got them.
Okay.
But yeah, this is actually one. I think I'm going to put my potentilla in this.
Yeah.
So it's going to be exactly like you just said, naturally in this cavity. Like I won't even have to do any kind of grinding or or stuff like that.
Made for growing a tree in there, isn't it?
Yeah, I like it. I like the reverse taper to it. I think I'm going to keep it this way, I think. Yeah. And then I'm going to try to mount it in the bottom.
Well, they say the Chinese like the reverse where it's heavier on top.
Yeah, I think
and the Japanese like it slimmer on top. So
I think it's going to contrast very well with like the delicate nature of the potentilla. Yeah. You have like this big kind of fat face of rock, and then that little potentilla that does kind of weird, crazy movement, and then ends up somewhere there.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
This is one of my first slabs that I made.
Oh yeah.
So this was so I there's a kind of funny, well, not a funny story, but this is limestone.
Okay.
So it's I found, and I'll show you the maple forest that I have on it now, but basically I had an Amur maple forest on this. Yeah. And they really didn't like it.
Didn't like the lime.
Yeah, it was, the pH was all screwed up for them. Yeah. And I was dealing with a lot of chlorosis, a lot of, basically it was an iron deficiency, but it was caused by the pH.
I see.
So I switched it to a new kind of rock, I think it's some sort of granite, and they're doing much better. So you can use limestone, but you have to use a species that likes the higher pHs. Okay. So junipers are kind of one of those.
I have my thuja over limestone, and it seems to be.
Yeah, like thuja for sure, because they're kind of like, they're native. They're known to grow like our escarpment's all limestone. Yeah. So they probably don't mind that at all. Yeah. But I would like never put an azalea on limestones, right. or a pine. Pine probably don't like it either. But you can see it's limestone's kind of soft, so it's nicer. I could drill these holes into it. Yeah. And then kind of cut out a little base
with a grinder or something. Yeah.
Right? And then I did a cross channel, so everything kind of flows into these holes.
That's cool.
So and then I'll play with other kind of slabs, and then I got a lot of tufa rock.
That's a cool rock. There,
yeah. This is going to be vertical as well. Okay. But it's kind of like a tall spire.
So you make a cement base for it or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Wow, that is cool.
And I don't really know what I'm going to put on it yet, kind of toying with it.
Yeah. Future projects, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
You're like me, you'll never run out of things to
do. So this is, you can't really see it in here. I'll show you another one. But this is a collected English hawthorn.
Holy.
So it's a twin trunk kind of in there.
Oh yeah.
But to be honest, I'm kind of more excited for these kind of, which are just weeds, but they're some sort of American elm, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So there's several of them. Like this is the biggest one. This looks like a weed, but there's several little elms in here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know what kind they are. I'm thinking they're American elm. They could be like a slippery elm or something. But I'm gonna make a forest out of these elms.
Wow, it's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, and like this is a decent size elm leaf.
That is
like
really
just
good.
Naturalized, right?
Yeah.
Like there's some big ones and stuff, but I'm hopeful that it will reduce.
That's cool. Huh?
Yeah, so I'll try that in the spring, and then that one's just kind of waiting to be collected. Yeah. Beside it is another monster hawthorn.
Holy, that must be the native species, is it, or are they both?
No, they're both invasive actually. I don't think we have a native hawthorn. Okay. But this is a cockspur hawthorn.
Right.
And you can see, look at the thorns.
The
That's
one
why
with
it's
the
called.
really wicked thorns.
Yeah, this is nasty, and a bigger leaf compared to the English hawthorn. The English hawthorn, I think, is the better candidate for bonsai. But I'll try to not get poked in here. But you can see this is a big clump style.
I think there is a native hawthorn.
Oh yeah,
I'm pretty sure. I remember looking it up. I could be wrong, but wow, that is a trunk in there.
Yeah. So there's several trunks. So I'm gonna carve them down.
Yeah.
And then you can see here, like these are, I've just let them grow.
So
these kind of new leaders.
It's like the treatment you would do with an olive stump or something like that, eh? Yeah. And it's got fruit on it here.
Yeah, so these ones are incredibly invasive, and I probably let this fruit go too far, but you really have to not. So I'm going to take them off right now, just so I don't remember. And they'll spread. They grow. I forget what it's called, but they grow from root cuttings, basically.
Yeah.
So you can see here, some of them are coming out of the roots.
Oh yeah.
So they're incredibly invasive.
Well, I can tell you, I've had these thorns in my mountain bike tire.
Yeah.
And they puncture right through really fast.
Yeah, they're like, look at this one. Just.
Oh my goodness.
That's a crazy spike.
That is crazy.
So you can dethorn them.
Yeah.
And then once you remove the thorn, like a new thorn will never grow there.
Right. Nice.
But yeah, big chunk to do. So this is my busy tropical bench, and maybe I'll pull out a couple interesting ones. A lot going on here.
It's like a tropical jungle.
Yeah. So I got some ficus in the back. There's my big ficus rumpi back there.
Yeah, that's your prize tree, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of them.
I'll try to maybe get to that in a sec. Here's my other type of bougainvillea.
Oh,
so you can sell this. This is, I don't know what variety. I think this is just the regular variety. But it grows more viney kind of.
Glabra, I think.
Yeah, glabra. That sounds about
I don't know how you pronounce it, but something like that. Yeah. And your edible fig up top there.
Yeah, so that's a good one. That's really nice back there.
Yeah, that looks really good.
A guava.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So maybe I'll just pull out a couple and we'll bring back to the bench and we can kind of go over them. Actually, let's maybe if me and you can move. We could look at this is the root bridge.
Okay.
And it's grown a lot since I think last time.
This spans between two rocks, right?
Yeah, so if we actually, we'll just flip it around and bring it out for everyone so they can see.
Okay.